Hey everybody, my name's Kenny Carlson and I'm the Executive Director and Chaplain for Reclaim Project Recovery Northwest. We are a transformational platform for men transitioning out of incarceration, addiction, and homelessness. Now, there's a stigma in our culture about these sorts of men, but from our experience over the last 5 years, the majority of these men just need security, they need purpose, they need opportunity, they need guidance. They need someone who cares enough about them to show them what it looks like to be a real man. Now, helping these guys reclaim their lives mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that's what we do. We build capable men. Through these 5 questions that I ask in these interviews, you will get the opportunity to know one of our guys each month. And our aim in doing this is to give you a new perspective and hope for our communities and for our world. Now, if you're in need of help or you know someone who's in need of help, go to our website at reclaimprojectnw.org. So check out these videos, check out these interviews. Like it, share it, and subscribe. Thank you. Hey friends, it's Kenny with the Reclaim Project. We're doing our first interview today, and the man we're sitting with today is Shawn Kingsbury. He is the founder of the Reclaim Project. This guy eats, sleeps, and breathes recovery. And I can brag about him because he's not going to brag about himself. Just a few weeks ago, he pulled a guy out of a motel at midnight and took him to the hospital to detox. So, Shawn, thank you so much for what you do. Thanks for being here with us today. I know you're a busy guy, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am a busy guy, and I do eat, sleep, and breathe recovery, but I am truly honored to be able to do what I do today. So I am the co-founder and now CEO. So I head up this ship we call the Reclaim Project.
Awesome, thank you. So where were you before you started the Reclaim Project?
So the Reclaim Project is actually an evolution of my original nonprofit, where I cut my teeth in trying to figure out unique ways to help individuals recover from addiction, first of all, or any really life affliction. And so I started, in 2015, I started Pure Vita Recovery. So it's an active sober community. It was designed for men and women with 48 hours of sobriety to have free access to yoga, CrossFit, strength training, mixed martial arts, all these different activities. Hiking was the big one first. And so we were really successful really fast. We had quite a following fast, and there was a real need for that there. And 4 years into that, I had my son, Boston, and he kind of opened my eyes up and changed everything. I had done a few different pilot tests, from working with guys on building furniture to I was the lead instructor and one of the founders for the Associated General Contractors Head Start to the Construction Trade Program. So from everything that I was doing for those 4 years while getting Pure Vita Recovery off the ground, I took a step back and I asked myself, who am I called to serve? What population am I called to serve? And what is the best platform for us to do that? So that's where I came up with, this is a men's transformational platform. And now we're here at the Reclaim Project. So That's what I was doing before this.
Good, thank you. So now you run 3 organizations that are based around recovery. What personally brought you into this service work?
So I had an 18-year run of addiction. Pretty much everything that I started, every career change, every school, everywhere I lived, was eventually crashed and burned because of drugs and alcohol. My drug of choice is alcohol first, and then I use drugs to be able to drink longer, right? And to maybe make it to work, maybe not. So at 18, I became a blackout drinker. And before that, there was history of abuse in my childhood. So I think that's a real part of my story, and which led to my drug and alcohol addiction. I was big on geographical cures. So I was like, if I move to New York City, I'm going to be able to drink and not get into all these consequences because I'll be happy. Or if I make all this money out in the oil field, then I'm going to be happy, and then I'm going to not have the same consequences. But when I was 30, I ended up in the hospital from drinking, and I remember getting a phone call where my girlfriend at the time said, "You have to go to treatment." And I had never even thought about treatment before this time, and I didn't even know what detox was. So now very familiar with all of the system, I'm like, wow, at 30 years old, I didn't even know that there was a place where you go and like get medically detoxed. And so then I did. I said yes. I went into detox. I went into treatment, and I thought I was cured. A common mistake. It was like 30 days inpatient treatment. I'm cured. I'm ready to take on the world. And when I got out, I was filled with a lot of anger and resentment. I was very, very lost. Huge identity crisis. I was a bartender and a roughneck and a hard worker that drank every day. And then I'm like, okay, who am I? And I actually relapsed 4 times in 4 years while really trying to figure this thing out. And then, so I was able to make 6 months the first time, crash and burn my life. 9 months the next time, crash and burn my life. 1 year the next time, crash and burn my life. Then the last time I made it a year and a couple months, and I was, and that's a lot. And at that point, I had a belly full of all different kind of recoveries. Like, I've been to Buddhist-based recovery, I've been to SMART recovery, I've been to multiple anonymous groups. And that was the very first time that I took a real look in the mirror and said, the only way this is not going to kill you is if you get these underlying issues sorted out. And then, so that's where I was. That's the genesis of me, really.
Thank you. As you've moved through this, now going on our 5th year with this program, this organization, why does the Reclaim Project work for men?
Mm-hmm. First of all, we meet the basic needs right off the bat. We meet the basic needs of shelter, so a place to live, transitional housing. We also meet the need of community, and we meet the need of purpose, and we give them some financial support via a job, right? So we're able to immediately triage those basic needs. One thing that I found in my original nonprofit, that we were having great success with people that had those needs met, and then we were able to start working on really the fundamentals of their life and the fundamentals of their recovery, like through meditation, breath work, spirituality, right? But if you don't meet those basic needs first, then a lot of people will just get washed away, or they'll just go right back to where they came from. But what we do simultaneously as meet those individual needs is we add that second, like Maslowian tier of deep community, deep spirituality, mechanizing how to build the skill sets that they're going to need for long-term and hopefully a life of sobriety. So we do those simultaneously. And I think that's the real magic of what happens here. We take a very long walk with these guys, is one of the ways I like to put it. It's like, they come through the door, they are met with someone with lived experience, another peer that's been like, hey, I've been where you're at. We are biologically wired to be a part of something. We have an epidemic of loneliness and depression in this country, which fuels a ton of our addiction. So instantly, they're surrounded by a brotherhood of 100+ guys. I always like to say that, there's a few guys who will walk in the door and completely resonate with me and be like, maybe former football guy, former college athlete kind of thing. And, my language works really well with them. My recovery, every addiction is uniquely woven, so every addiction will be uniquely unwoven. So it is it's all unique, but my recovery might resonate better with someone else's. So I might get 10% of the guys that can really walk hand in hand and they're like, oh, okay, so I like what Shawn has going on. I want to I'm going to be able to, I'm going to reach out to Shawn. I'm going to emulate some of the things that he does, right? And then vice versa, like with you. Like there's so many guys who can walk in the door and be like, man, I really like what Kenny's putting out there. I love this trajectory. You know, I'm a father, he's married. You know, so we have these mirrors in place because of the amount of leaders that we have. I think that's a really powerful piece too.
Definitely. That's good. That's good. So, thank you for that. Tell me about a guy that has accomplished so much through the Reclaim Project that you're proud of.
Sure. I remember the first time I saw him, he was on the corner of the street, and I was in a truck and trailer on a Saturday doing like my own individual, I think I was like picking up branches somewhere, right? And it was hot out, and I remember what he's wearing. It was all dirty. It was all tattered. He had a fishing pole coming out of the back of his backpack, and he startled me at the corner, and he's like, hey, do you have any work? And then I thought about it for a second. It's like, I'm just going home to load branches. Maybe I do have some work for this guy. So I was like, okay, cool, get in. So he gets in, and I drop the trailer off and him off on this big pile of branches. And there's another worker there, and they had it all loaded up. And he was telling me a little bit about his situation on the ride. He was addicted to heroin, been homeless for years, estranged from his daughter, who was 3 at the time. And I said, I'm like, man, I've been down the road of addiction. If you ever want help, give me a call. And that manager also was able to speak to him a little bit longer. That worker is like, yeah, I've been at the Reclaim Project for this amount of time. They give you a job, they give you housing. So that manager was able to give him a more in-depth of what we're doing. And so I go back to the job site. We say goodbye. 6 months later, I get a phone call. And just on I think it was a random Tuesday. And a guy says to me, hey, I'm sure you don't remember me, but I did like 4 hours of work for you. And I've been detoxing behind a convenience store for 3 days. And I'm like, and right there off the bat, I'm like, well, that's super, super impressive. And he's like, I'm ready to, if you could help me, I'm ready for help. And I'm like, absolutely. I will be right there. And I literally just dropped everything I was doing, and I went and picked him up. On the way back to the facility here, he said something, well, I know a little bit about remodel. I was like, okay, I hear that all the time, right? I know a little bit. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll get to that. But right now, you know, we're going to get you a place to sleep. I want you to sleep for a few days. I want you to eat good food. We've got to get a clean urinalysis out of you. But I'm going to bring you in, and we're going to start right there. So about a month passes by of him participating in the program, coming to meetings, going to our Saturday morning breakfast, and he mentions to me again, he's like, hey, I know you got some big projects. You should hire me. You should get me on to Revival General Contracting. I said, okay, let's do this. And we had just acquired a couple really big projects. Right over here in West Central, there were houses on stilts. They had been moved like 8 blocks away, so they're 1,900 houses. They've been cracked, and it's just horrible, right? We're going to gut them and put them back together and put them on the ground. They were actually condemned by the police chief, said, if a nonprofit doesn't get these set on the ground, then we're going to tear them down. You know what I'm saying? So they were sold to a local investor, and we became the contractor on it. So as I roll up to this house, he's like, this is crazy. I shot dope under this house for 6 months. I was like, what, really? Like under this house? I'm like, first of all, that's super ironic and strange. And in 1 week, I was so surprised about how he just took hold of that job site and just started I started him with Windows because he said, I asked him, what do you have experience in? He's Windows. I'm like, cool, let's get you on Windows. And for the next 6 months, you could feel him working out his angst with life, his struggle with his recovery in that house, on that house. And so when you talk about like Reclaim Project, we're literally reclaiming this historical home while this young man reclaims his life. So just a beautiful story. He's back with his daughter now. He gets her all the time. He's a lead for another investor. He's basically running his own company and doing great. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that. Where do you see the Reclaim Project in 5 years from now?
I see us having multiple locations in multiple cities. I don't know what. I see a Reclaim Project East. I see a Reclaim Project Idaho, most likely in Coeur d'Alene. So we got those three right down the I-90 corridor. Yeah. Maybe a couple other satellites. Maybe it's Reclaim Project Walla Walla. And so I definitely see us doing the same things that we're doing now. Social enterprise, construction. We have the nonprofit, life-affirming activities, building community, and then the transitional housing, and just scaling it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you had anything to say to a guy that's watching this right now, that's struggling, what is your advice for that guy?
My advice to someone struggling, there is a piece like in recovery or when you're in addiction that you are this unique person. That's, I remember always just thinking like, I'm bipolar, there's something so wrong with me that I'm never gonna be fixed. I'm always gonna crash and burn my life. And I can assure 99% of people that someone in your shoes has got sober before. And that it is possible, that absolutely it's possible, and it happens every single day. And so that right there, I hope that would just give someone who's contemplating getting sober the hope that like, okay, well, I was a bottom drunk. I literally would I've went in my girlfriend's purse before for money. I've scraped up change. I've bumped change. I've been the guy at a convenience store rapping on the door being at 6 a.m., man, I need a drink. I need a drink. So, I mean, in my addiction, there was just so much damage and destruction and pain. And I was so, and my body was nowhere near, I was hanging on a thread a lot. And I know a lot of guys who've been in that place. And we work with these guys every single day. And you can build it all back. And we do not know, I never would have thought that I would be blessed with a son at 40. My son was born 4 days before my 40th birthday. And he's just this miracle joy that I had no clue about, right? So, the first step is a medical one. It's detoxing them. The first step is a spiritual one. It is, I've had an awakening and I'm ready to put in the fight because it's going to be a fight. It's going to be an absolute fight. The second is, where do I get the help I need? Every drug is different. Every body's different. Some people just need 4 nights sleep, 4 days straight of sleep, right? Coming off of methamphetamine, and some people are going to need medical intervention, stay at the hospital, but those resources are out there for either case. And so it's going to move from that spiritual aha moment to that medical, practical, tangible moment. And then from there, the equation of your life right now, the operating system of your life has to drastically change. You need to become a different person. And that's a scientific, neurological, spiritual part right there. It's you literally need to become a different person so you can fire different thoughts. And I relapsed 4 times in 4 years. I have other guys that have relapsed 0 and have really found themselves in a great place. So relapse it is a part of recovery. It doesn't have to be a part of their story and their recovery. Then you got to be, and then finally you got to be ready to work hard. Yeah. You got to be ready to be uncomfortable. Yeah. You have to be ready to surrender to. You're going to surrender to something. Mm-hmm. You're going to need help. I did none of this on my own. None of it. I had a counselor. Every step of the way, there was, and I could almost identify it if we had enough time. There was someone there that helped me through that stage. There was someone there that helped me through that stage. And it's one of the things that really is the backbone of the Reclaim Project is how do we help someone on every step of the stage? every stage. Like, where are we? And I'm constantly looking at could we possibly be failing someone in that stage, right? And so, and creating that culture and that conversation of like, I'm here, this is who I'm trying to become, and who can walk alongside me to get me there. But also, they got to do the work. Right. Finally, I'll just end it at this. I love this topic, so I'll talk forever about it, right? So, our job at the Reclaim Project is to take what someone can't carry, the burden of life, that what they can't carry. Maybe they can't keep themselves housed. Maybe they can't keep themselves employed, right? We'll take that temporarily. And it's that individual's responsibility and our responsibility to build up the skills to be able for me to hand that back to them.
That's good. Thank you. That's really good advice. Really good advice. Shawn Kingsbury, founder of the Reclaim Project, thank you, man, for your time today. It's such an honor to work alongside of you. Such a joy. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we're in it.
Appreciate you.